When we get promoted, this is what we'll sing. We are Geordies, Super Geordies, Rafa is our king.
Hello and welcome to the NUFC Fans Forum. We hadn't actually planned to do one today, but since Newcastle's fortunes have, in the words of my esteemed colleague here, flip reversed in the last 24 hours, we thought what better way than to talk you through the game. I'm joined by Ross, as ever.
Bonsoir.
And the most pathetic plate of biscuits you've ever seen in your life. Ross, you were at the game last night.
Are Jaffa Cakes biscuits? That's the question I'm going to ask you.
Oh, the comments are going to kick off. Yes, they are.
But they're called cakes?
Well, they're in the biscuit aisle.
Touché. We'll never know. Anyway.
Moving swiftly on. Ross, you were at the game last night.
I was.
I would like you to talk me through the experience, starting with...
When I was in Bar Loco
and
read the team sheet
yes,
and saw that captain Paul Dummett was going to be backing up Johan Gouffran on the wing, I felt like someone near and dear to me had just died. That was the emotion.
That's very strong, Ross. Why did you feel like someone near and dear to you had just died?
Because Paul Dummett has had a shocking start of the season, and Johan Gouffran has had a shocking 3 years, maybe 4. 3 years.
I would say a week. Yes, a week. Yeah, we'll go with shocking 3 years.
Yeah.
What did you? What was the reaction with the people around you? Was there hushed gasps of?
It was just laughing at the fact that Paul Dummett was the captain.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we're at now as a club, and that Johan Gouffran had somehow wormed his way into the starting 11 by default because Aaron's wasn't the best on Saturday. So
we'll start with Dummett. Obviously, with them pulling Lascelles out with the team, did you agree with that first of all as a decision?
It was strange seeing the club captain hooked, but at the same time, I know Rafa's come out and said that it's a 46-game season. He needs to rotate, keep things fresh. But you can't blame him after the 2 performances Jamal put in.
No,
because he was awful the first 2 games.
It's not something we're used to seeing as well, players getting hooked for bad form. Normally, I mean, we've been certainly used to the last couple of managers, the favourites. And no matter how bad they are, they stay in, they take the flak from the fans, or the people can't get in the team. To see the captain, ungracefully hooked after 2 games, was quite, I mean, I was certainly taken quite aback by that. But, I mean, was it the correct decision ultimately, do you think?
Well, for Kieran Clark, no, but we'll get on that in a bit. But it might be a wake-up call for the lad. I don't know, he doesn't seem like that sort of guy. But being 22 years old, wherever he is, a beautiful specimen of a man, being made club captain of Newcastle United might have made his head a little bit inflated. So hopefully this will have just bashed him back down.
It could be an element
of pressure.
Obviously,
he doesn't seem like that, but maybe.
It could be an element of pressure as well. Again, he is 22. And I think, I even put the question to you and Simon, what if things aren't going well at the start of the season? Is that the kind of responsibility you can put on his shoulders? Could it have been an element of Benitez taking him out the firing line a bit? We need a result tonight. I'm not going to put all the weight on you to go and get that.
I mean, after the Huddersfield game, he stayed on the pitch and did a full lap, clapping the fans. And we were watching him, and everyone just basically turned their back on the poor lad. He was standing there clapping. It was so painful to watch. So hopefully... Aye, but he came on though, which went through at the back for a bit, which is a bit strange.
Well, that is a question I've got for you. I did hear the term 3-5-1-1 being bandied about, which I can't even begin to get my head around. But we'll get on to that. Dummett is captain, so you've taken Lascelles out the side, the options you've got available to you. Why did Dummett get the armband? What do you think the thinking was there?
He's a Geordie. He knows what that means.
What he's played
he's got passion. I think that could be the only reason. He's one of the longer serving members in that squad, I think, by now.
Well, if he was going on experience, he would have given it to Gouffran. Oh, can you imagine?
Oh, that would have been hell on. Aye. No, I just think, he's from the area. I don't know.
I personally thought it was an odd one, because Shelby had the armband for parts last season. He started.
But you can't reward him after what he's been doing with the captain's armband, I don't think.
What's he been doing? Pinging it around the dressing room with people.
Just moping around a football field, very moody. But that all changed last night. It looked like he had a rocket shoved up his arse.
How was Shelby's performance? Much better?
He put himself about. He was getting angry at everything that went against him. It was lovely to see. There was a lot of Hollywood balls. More came off than didn't, but some didn't come off. So maybe lessen those a bit and just play the easier ball.
I'm going to try and logically sweep my way through the team for this assessment before getting onto the game itself. So Paul Dummett, left back.
Yeah.
A lot of people, yourself included, wanted to see him dropped. How was his performance, leadership aside?
Couple of big hits. He got skinned a couple of times, but it was better than the first two. So Maybe he's like Toyota, the captain armband brings him up a level or two. Who knows?
Did he demonstrate any visible leadership to you? Was he talking to people?
It didn't look like it anything. Looks like a very quiet player, doesn't he? And it didn't look like anything had changed on that front.
Interesting. Kieran Clark came in for the sell.
Oh dear me. We have, as I said in the earlier fans forum, you see him. I've only gone off match of the day because it's the only time I've seen him before he played for us last night. And every single time he's run after the ball out of position, he's making an error, he's scoring an own goal, he's getting sent off. And yeah, that was just all confirmed last night with that penalty decision. Good lord. You could see it come. Like, he's got no right foot for a start, which is an awful thing to have at your disposal when you're a professional footballer. He literally, like, there was one moment where we couldn't clear the ball, and the ball was at his feet, and he was just going like this, like stuttering, he didn't know what to do. And all he had to do was simply swing his right boot at it and just clear it, and he couldn't. He had to go with the outside of his left, and we're just like, £5 million we've paid for him.
And he dived into a challenge, gave way.
You could see it coming a mile off, and people around me were shouting, "No, that's never a pen, referee!" Not in that accent, but in an accent very similar. And like, you've never seen a more clear penalty in your life. You just,
It's from, I've only seen, because we're in the Championship now, we don't get different angled replays unless we're on television. We only get to see it from the stand camera. It did look all the world like a stupid dive.
He is the Irish Stephen Taylor. It's the second coming. The prodigal son has returned. We'll just see in a couple of games' time, be at the gallery going, "Come on!" That old shtick.
The old fist pumps. We thought Jesus Gamas would be replicating that role, but do you think it's going to be?
Well, he's apparently still not match fit, old Jesus. So we're going to have to wait to see if he does the old fist
with bated breath as well. Yamat was dropped, so it was Anita at right back, I believe.
Vern was all right. He misplaced a few passes. He was getting forward. He had license to go Roman, so he did. He was all right. He was better than Yamat's been again. The recurring theme here is just everyone was better than they have been in the previous two games,
individually and as a team.
Yeah. As a team, we're still lacking fluidity, I think. The passing was still not quite there. It was still very side to side. Very lackadaisical in places. But yeah, there was a bit more oomph about it.
I read on the old Twitter that there was one stage where we kept the ball for quite a while. And then there was one or two forward passes sort of open, and it was played back. And there was some mild booing from the crowd.
I didn't hear booing. This? There was plenty of the roar that goes up when something bad happens.
When a ball's rolled 5 yards backwards.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose your main culprit that would have been Hayden and the centre backs, because there was a few moments where they could have passed the ball forward and they just took the safe option and went back. Which, keep the ball and all that, but then when you're kicking it back to Sells, who just goes, "Hey!" and sees it up the pitch, barely skimming the head of the centre forward just in front of him, that's a bit of a worry. He just doesn't fill you with confidence, that man, Mr. Sells.
No.
Terrifying.
I kind of skipped over him because I couldn't really bring myself to have another conversation about how well he doesn't.
He made a good save when I think we were hanging on a bit at 1-0. He made a good save from a strike from the edge of the box, but other than that, he's kicking. His decision making, his distribution, it's just a bit shaky.
Tim Krul straight back in for you when he's fit?
Well, me personally, it's Rob Elliott. Rob Elliott's my number one. Krul can earn that jersey back as far as I'm concerned.
Ooh. When is Rob Elliott fit? He's a while away, isn't he?
Krul's back in training though, isn't he? He's meant to be rejoining the first team keepers next week.
Poor Caldalo. He was excellent in parts.
Was,
part of his game were excellent. He looked as sort of loose-limbed and noodle-armed as you'd expect.
I think he would have been comfortable in the Championship though. More comfortable than Mr. Sells has been at the minute, I think.
Possible option to rotate, do you think, soon?
You can't rotate too much, can you, without it becoming a massive mess.
That's true.
So hopefully it picks up.
But while we're still on the topic of the defence and a massive mess, that's now our third game, and we still haven't had any sort of consistency along the back four. I think it's our fourth entirely different defensive line in 4 games, I think, including the last friendly. I could be wrong.
Probably.
Is that starting to show, do you think? There's not a lot of organisation there, the consistency's a bit off, players don't quite let them know what they're doing with each other.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Based on what you've seen from the 3 games this season, what would you say our strongest back four is?
Mbemba.
Just Mbemba on his own.
Mbemba has been good. The rest of them, and Vern probably after his little cameo last night, but the rest of them just, no one wants to nail that place down, I don't think. Probably Hanley, because he wasn't all that bad against Fulham, I thought.
No, I thought he put in that one tackle, which does stand out. He didn't look out of place.
Yeah, I mean, Clark is just a disaster. I'm terrified.
It was such a strange signing, and so it's proved already. Anyway, moving up the pitch. It was Hayden and Shelvey, which I think was a combination we were actually clamouring for here at one point.
Aye.
Isaac Hayden has impressed you in previous games, not so much last week.
In Barlow last night, I was saying there's no point in playing Isaac Hayden at home. You've got to be a bit more ballsy than that. But he proved me wrong. He did. He shut me right up.
He shut you right up with that opening goal.
Aye, he got the lovely finish that on the turn, and then he was just all over the place. And then was it Gale's second when he tapped it in?
Mm-hmm.
The tenacity shown there was top draw.
There was another highlight I saw where Perez rolled him in, and it was a lovely little not
dink.
Looking.
Aye.
So he's obviously getting about the pitch a lot better than he was.
Wait, he didn't barely move against Huddersfield, so that wouldn't have been hard to do any better there. But put himself about, big tackles, I wouldn't say bossed it, but he was certainly probably the most dominant midfielder on show.
How do you think him and Shelvey worked as a unit, as a two? Because they're obviously completely different players in the way they play.
There's certainly potential there. I think it's just making them work together to get used to each other, get acclimatised to what the other man's going to do.
You mentioned Shelvey was still on the old Hollywood balls, but certainly getting himself about a bit more and putting more tackles in.
He was arguably the biggest improvement on the night from what he has shown so far this season.
Really?
I think Rafa must have sat him down, got him off the naughty step and put him in the hot seat. I don't know what I'm saying here.
Where do you go from the naughty step?
It just looked like he'd been told, look, right, get your finger out your arse, do something, and he did. He was all over the shop, just getting angry at the referee for decisions that were blatantly correct, but he was still getting angry at him, which was nice to see.
I did see in the highlights from Gale's disallowed goal, while everyone's running up to celebrate with Gale, Shelvey somehow manages to direct his run of celebration into a full-on chest bounce off a protesting Reading player. It's just in the corner. Just have a look for it. It's just in the corner of your screen. It's the most aggressive, needless thing. And if the lad had decided to make a fuss of it, it would have been all sorts kicked off. But he just kind of bounced off him as he went past.
It's nice to see instead of him just moping round in the middle with his head down like he's been doing recently. So there's hope. There's hope for John Joe.
Moving into the attacking three. Don't know whether should I go with Gouffran first or Gouffran last?
Standing ovation, Mr. Johan Gouffran got.
Is this true? It was a standing ovation. I saw some reports saying it was good. It was strong applause. I saw
there was a few whistles. It was a very strong applause, a prolonged applause.
What did he do to justify that? Talk me through Johan Gouffran's 70
I personally
minutes.
thought it was just a typical Gouffran performance. He didn't offer much, but he ran around and put himself about, and he got involved. He was one audacious spicy kick, overhead kick that almost went in. Well, he was straight to the keeper. But other than that, it was just a typical Gouffran performance. Better than what we've come to expect over the past couple of years. But still...
Did this look like the Gouffran of old? Where he looked like he'd been cobbled together using bits of Gouffran, where he'd been cobbled together using bits of Obertan, Perch and Gutierrez in the line.
It wasn't quite that second half, the 12-13 when he first joined. It wasn't quite that levels, but it was getting back somewhere towards that.
Interesting. Do you think he's played himself back into staying in the squad now?
Well, I'm of the mantra, why change a winning team? So, unless a Kieran Clark. So.
I mean, long term. Because certainly he was one of the players everybody would expect to have left at some point. Wouldn't have got nowhere near the first team. Would have been lucky to get on the bench. He's come in, one game, played by all accounts very, very well. Added apparently an element
all
of
right.
lacking.
We'll go all right, not very, very well.
But still, look at the performances we've had from everybody this season. There's not been many highlights. There's not been many games so far where you pick out an individual.
I mean, I personally like to see Orlando Aaron's given a long run. No matter if he has a bad half, we'll accept it. But I like to see him give him a long run in the first team while he's fit, because it's a blessing, because we haven't had that so far. He normally has a game and he's cropped for a year and a half, maybe 3. But personally, I'd go with Aaron's. He came on, he was dazzling in one run he did,
as he tends to be.
He had 5 minutes or something. He came on, had one run, and but I
suppose it's a benefit of the championship. The games come so thick and fast. Leaving somebody out on Wednesday, I mean, they're still going to get a game on the Saturday.
I certainly think Gouffran will keep his place now against, is it Bristol City?
It's Bristol City we've got next, yes.
I think he'll keep his, especially that being away from home, he'll keep his place. I think it's away from home.
It is.
Not looked at the fixtures.
It is. I put up the new fixture thing on the site before.
Right.
Matt Ritchie. Everyone's in love with Matt Ritchie, basically.
How can he not be?
He's a handsome, chiselled man. Good hairline and plays for Scotland. He ticks all the Adam boxes.
We're not all perfect, are we? But anyway, another one who just didn't stop running all night, but he had that bit of quality. His barrels into the box were lovely. They didn't result in any goals, though. Wait, the free kick did. But
the free kick did.
Sort of. But just another good performance. Followed on from Saturday very well.
He took the penalty. which I thought was interesting.
A lovely penalty.
It was a great penalty.
It was interesting though because immediately he picked up the ball and was going, right, that is mine, that is my ball.
He's not actually Scottish. He's from
He's
Kent
from
or something.
I was just playing. I was just trying to make you feel at home. Anyway, and Perez was, I think, trying to wrestle the ball off. Well, not wrestle the ball off, and was saying, "Hello,
there's only one winner in that fight.
I want to take this penalty." And Richie was like, "Nah, get away."
Matthew. No.
Aye, that. And Matthew was like, "Nah, it's mine." And then he showed Dwight Gale how to take penalty.
Yeah, he did absolutely
very nice.
Bury it. I mean,
keeper went the right way about 5 minutes before he actually took it. And
great
didn't get there. So
best celebration I've seen in a long time as well. Did he break the corner flag or just knock it out the hole?
Well, he knocked out the hole, didn't he, with a massive big boot. I remember Shearer back in the day. He booted a microphone on the pitch.
In Southampton, I was at that game.
Big fine, didn't he? So, the groundsman is very protective over his corner flags. I'm sure we'll find out in this coming days.
I imagine that the grounds people at Newcastle United command much less legal clout than the people at Sky who own the microphones. So he's probably safe.
We'll never
if
know
not, if there's any fines for Matt Ritchie for kicking that corner flag, I think we'll get a Kickstarter going for him. We'll pay that fine. We'll pay that fine and every corner flag fine for Matt Ritchie. Perez, still apparently not working in the number 10 role, I am told.
Yeah, it's very huff and puff, I think I described
What is it?
He's trying a lot, but it's just not coming off.
Trying what? Is it movement? Is it getting on the ball?
It's everything. It's getting on the ball, it's taking on players, it's trying little fancy flicks here and there. He's still not getting in the box to have a shot, though, which is a bit worrying, because he is, for me, a striker.
How, in sort of relation to Gale, where is he playing? Is it noticeably... Because, I mean, we were at the Fulham game, he appeared to be going beyond him at times. He was making the runs in...
I think he's been... Well, I think last night, he was certainly more central than out wide, but I think he was given just a free role. Go and do what you want, Bonnie lad. I think Rafa must have said to him before the kick-off.
Spanish for Bonnie lad.
I'm not even going to try. Not even going to try.
I'll get one of these eventually.
Just buy a Spanish dictionary.
I think I will. Anyway,
it was another frustrating night for him. So,
is he make way for you?
For who is if Diarma is fit, maybe, but he blatantly wasn't fit on Saturday, so that might be a couple of weeks off yet.
He didn't feature at all, did he?
No, wasn't even on the bench.
Interesting. So, how do you solve the problem of Jose Perez then? Should he be playing up top? Should he be playing out wide? Is he just going to have to sit this out and wait his turn? Which would be a shame, as he's someone we're very keen to keep. And if we're not going to play him, I don't think he
still has those
around.
moments of brilliance in games, though. Like last night, there was one touch he did, and it just it came right over his head like that, and it just landed on his foot and just stayed there. It was incredible. I don't think maybe Matt Ritchie aside, we don't have anyone else that could do that. So he's still liable for those moments, isn't he?
Is Perez, in terms of actual raw ability, is Perez probably the best player currently in the squad?
Naturally gifted player.
Gifted player. So how important then is it to find a way to play him rather than hope one comes along? If you're Rafa Benitez now and you're sitting there and you know you've got a player this good, you know there'll be interest for him, you know that on the face of it he looks happy to stay at a club which, let's be honest, is probably beneath him now where he wants to be in his career, certainly for the next 2 or 3 years. Do you sit there and you think, well, I've got to find a way to include him, I've got to find a system that's going to get something out of him, or I've got to just put him in the team and just accept that his performances won't be brilliant? Or do you think, well, if he's not going to fit what we're doing, maybe we should let him know? Maybe we should move on.
One variable in that, aside from Iosi himself, and that's just the other players who can play up there. If they're not playing very well, I think he's got a place in the team. But if they're being more effective than he is, I don't think he has got a place in the team.
I mean, Gouffran's coming.
It's a really hard one to figure out.
We're not short of numbers at that end of the pitch at the minute. When Diarma's fit, apparently Gouffran's now worked himself into the equation. There's realistically 6, maybe even 7 players who could play across that 3 now. And with Mitrovic coming back, we might not even be playing 3 in that position.
It's nice to have as a Newcastle fan, isn't it? Options, because we only have a first 11,
a squad,
and then we're picking them out their prams from the academy.
Yeah.
So over to you, Rafa. It's your problem, not mine. All the best. But
I'm getting on to Gale in a second. But was tonight a little bit of reassurance, despite from a bit of wobbling faith that Rafa Benitez does in fact always know better than we do?
Yes.
Because I don't think any of us would have played.
It wasn't. I don't think it was a 4-1 game though. I'm going to bring that old cliche into it.
I'll get on to the actual match itself once we've gone through the performances. But that is what I've heard.
We're certainly upward in motion, I would say.
Jumped to 17th now. Which actually
nosebleeds.
Oh
God, there was one chant though. Yeah, up the Football League we go. I almost die.
Lads,
Don't
no.
do that, man.
Not yet.
Come on.
Not yet.
It's not even funny.
There's no team in the championship with a 100% record now. I checked this. No one's won all 3 of their games.
Wait, it's not an easy league, is it?
Not an easy league. Which means we're only 4 points off top now. So last week we were giving teams a 6-point head start, effectively. We're 4 points off. 4 points off top now. Easy this.
Anything can happen.
Easy this.
We're still going to go, aren't we? Let's be honest.
We've revised our points total to 136 now, have we?
Isn't that the total you can get?
130 then.
Aye.
We'll go with that. See what gets on.
Yeah.
Gale, anything stand out about him? 2 goals.
Free kicks. I didn't know you could take them.
Me neither, actually. It was an absolute wallet.
So aye, it was still an industrious performance from him once again. He had a bit more, surprisingly, for a Yapstam team. I thought defensively that would have been... I was sitting there with mate last night. I was just thinking of the whole game. Imagine what a training session would be like, where Yapstam, Champions League winner, all of this, is teaching Paul McShane how to be a centre half. It must be like, because my mate was a doctor. He's a doctor, right? And I was sitting there thinking, I'd be like, you trying to teach a 4-year-old the inner workings of the heart, the pulmonary valve, and all that malarkey. It's like you'd be sitting there, blank faced, not having a clue what's going on.
Like a dog looking at a lava lamp, basically.
Right. Gale had more room to run into last night, which was noticeable. Redden were a bit all over the shop, especially in the second half, which proved he could be effective if teams do give that much room in behind.
You said it wasn't a 4-1 game.
No.
What was it then? What would have been a fairer result?
3-1. Redden, they had the 2 shot. One hit the bar, one that Sell saved, and then they had the penalty, and then that was about it. So they were looking to get on the score sheet, in all honesty. But it was a closer game than that. It was a scrappier game than 4-1 suggests. That was just steamrolled them. So,
would you say the other 2 games have gone? I mean, I think we can probably hold our hands up and say that Fulham game was probably a 1-0 Fulham.
Bloody hell.
Start that again. I think we'll probably hold our hands up and say the Fulham game was probably, we got what we deserved in that game. Huddersfield, do you think, did we deserve to lose that game 2-1? Were we that bad?
I think we were done. We were done by a good away performance. So I think, we didn't deserve... Wait, you saw that game, didn't you?
Bits.
What do you think?
Thought we were dreadful.
Well, we didn't deserve anything from that game. If anything, we should have had a point taken away. Just to
doctor point.
Cheat them up a bit more.
Well, I think after three games, we've probably had what we deserve. Then
we might have got a point at Fulham. Wouldn't have. I don't think anyone would have complained if we got a point there.
I think Fulham would have been a bit. The way we played in that game, I think if we'd have walked out with a point, I think Fulham would have been devastated.
Fair enough.
All those neutrals would have been gone home. Fear smiled. 3 games then, 3 points. I mean, as a start, how do you rate that? It's not what we wanted at all, but...
here we go again. It's just these typical Geordies and their unrealistic expectations, isn't it? To go down to the Championship with 3, what we thought were bang average sides, not to win all 3 games. But performance-wise, we've got exactly, maybe a point less than we deserved. Maybe not. So, still the only way is up, hopefully.
I hope so. As ever, we like to open these things up to your questions, and myself and Ross will try our best to give you some waffling answers. Dan Lewis asks, does Gouffran deserve a regular place after his decent shift against Reading? I would add probably something on the end of that. Is it just he's in because we had no other options, or do you think now he's got to be considered in that group of first? I
certainly think in the short term he's going to keep his place. But in the long term, I still think we need to see a prolonged 6 or 7 game run for Mr. Aarons, hopefully. Just to... he had one... Well, I still thought he was the best of the bad bunch in that first half against Huddersfield, but he had one bad half and he's been hooked for it, which is a bit unfair for a young man and a winger.
True. Do you think perhaps the Gouffran he provides something that the rest of them don't? There's a balance to him. There's a more of a, like I was saying like last week, there's a guile, you know what I mean? Like not just being a very good footballer, there's just having a bit of nous about you, not a bit of experience.
Where he runs around, I don't know if there's that awareness there. The defense, knowing where sensing the danger before it happens, that sort of thing. He just runs. I think he's more willing to run the other way than Aarons is, which might be because he's a conservative manager, isn't he? Especially
pragmatic.
Since we're away from home next. I think that might keep him in the team. That willingness to go the other way.
Martin Finley. Sorry, Martin. And we've certainly nailed down, and Bemba is probably the only starting centre back out of that lot. Having seen them, between Lascelles, Hanley and Clark, who would you say at the minute is the strongest contender to be Mbemba's partner?
It's a flip of a coin between Lascelles and Hanley for me. I think, yeah. Clark was rash yesterday, and I don't think, yeah.
Would you perhaps think that the unique skill set Grant Hanley has of being a complete heed the ball and a brick proverbial, he complements Mbemba better than perhaps Lascelles does? They're both similar. Like they're good.
They both are brick proverbials, aren't they? So that's what I mean. It's just going to take someone to say, I want this place in this team. Let's do it. Let's have it. I want it. I'm going to take it.
Or if Kieran Clark says I want it.
Prove it.
You do it.
He didn't do it last night.
It takes saying it and then being good.
And then doing it, yeah.
Okay. After the first 3 games, are you confident of Newcastle finishing top? That's from Harry NUFC.
We're getting better each game. Well, no. Wait, that's complete bollocks I've just said there. Because we went there, and then we're back up to...
Yeah.
Like there, and then we're...
Over the most recent 2 games has been an improvement.
Yes.
Right.
So hopefully that continues, and then hopefully we should still win the league.
I think if nothing else, if you look at the rest of the Championship, no teams stayed 100% after 3 games. That's extraordinary. You would think at least there'd be 4 or 5 starting to get off to a really good start. Everybody stalled to an extent. I think it's there for the taking this season. I think between us, Villa and Norwich, we should all certainly think we should be at the top of that league. There's a couple of...
We've got to get in the top 2 at least.
It's huge.
Early on, I'm thinking Brighton are looking very strong though, aren't they?
They always do the Brighton, they never go.
I think it'd be ultimately come down with them, Norwich and us for the top 2 places, I think. The playoffs would be fun though, wouldn't they?
No, they wouldn't, because we're Newcastle United, and it would be absolutely unbearable. We'd end up in the playoff final against an absolutely terrible tiny team, and they'd win, and we'd be all over the news, crying wise out.
We've been in Wembley finally though. We haven't been to Wembley yet. The new Wembley, sorry.
I don't want to go to Wembley for a playoff final.
You do, man. I'd take anything now. Morpeth Town, my hometown, have got to Wembley before Newcastle United have. That's
no Shields, my hometown.
Disgrace. I'd take any trip to Wembley.
It's fun, isn't it, watching your team win at Wembley?
4-1, we won.
2-1 extra time. What a game, what an afternoon. There's a number of questions here from Ben Nigam? I'm not sure. But the best one is probably the last one. Do we need Jan, Matt? Well,
you need more than one. Wait, I suppose you got Jesus Hammers, haven't you?
Kevin Mbabu.
I mean, if we can get a pretty penny for the lad, I'd say see you later, Daryl. He obviously, I think he knows he's better than the Championship. I think he's shown it so far. No, I'm talking bollocks again. I think he knows he's better than the Championship, and he's just,
he's taking the hoof.
Aye.
There wasn't much of an internet reaction to your huge scoop at the last fans forum, which I thought there would be.
Oh, wait. I think that might be backed up by the fact he was dropped.
It could be.
Rafa might have heard he was on the phone to his agent in the car. On the phone in the car.
Might have been Rafa on the phone. Where you gone? We're all waiting here for you. Aidan Parr asks, who's your first choice keeper and back four if everyone's fit?
Rob Elliott. After the opening 3 games, Vern.
Right back?
Yeah. Left back. Just because
you can't bring yourself to say it, can you?
just because we haven't seen him yet, therefore he hasn't been proven to be bad, Mr. Jesus Hammers.
Right, okay.
Centre halves, we've got Chancel, and then we've got flip of the coin for the 2. I kind of pick it.
I'd probably have to agree with you. I'd probably say Rob Elliott, Anita. I'd like to see. I'd pick Lascelles because he's the club captain, and he's a lovely, lovely man. And I keep his mum happy.
I'm sorry?
Mbemba. His mum on Twitter?
You keep his mum happy?
It would keep his mum happy?
Oh, it would keep
I wouldn't keep his mum
I
happy.
thought you said you kept him.
I would if she'd let me try.
That was a huge scope there.
Scope. And left back. I honestly can't say that our strongest team has a player in it that's not played for us yet. So I'm probably going to have to say Paul Dummett. I'm sorry.
I've joined the Simon bandwagon of Paul Dummett's hate.
And then he was made captain, just to spite you.
No.
Is there enough characters in this team to achieve automatic promotion?
I was listening to TalkSport yesterday morning. This is where this question's come from, because Kev Nolan was on.
Alright.
And Joey Barton phoned in. And they asked, will this Newcastle team go up? And Joey was like, they haven't got any leaders like Kevin Nolan. He's a fantastic leader. I can't remember the word he used to describe the squad, but he used the saying they're all wet. I'll go with
drops.
Yeah, they're not. I'm got anyone that'll
They're absolute
haul them up when they're not doing very well. And
quilts.
aye. What was the question again?
Have we got enough characters to go up?
I think it doesn't matter. We've got enough good players. I think that's the main thing.
That's more important.
Aye.
I worry. I think there's legs in that question, but we'll find out as the season goes on.
We will.
Is Matt Ritchie? This is from Drop Dummit on Twitter. Is Matt Ritchie the player
Simon?
we wanted? Don't think so. No, it's got more than like 200 followers. Can't be Simon. Is Matt Ritchie the player we wanted Cabela and Tovan to be? And if so, would you rather have him or Townsend right now?
Okay.
What a question that is.
Yes to the first part.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Creative, energetic, injects a lot of unpredictability to things.
But
Would I rather him than Townsend? Yes, I would. I think Townsend was very predictable, very two-dimensional.
he was good though, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was very good, but you knew exactly what he was going to do.
Ritchie's in the Championship at the minute. Remember, Andros is in the Premier League, tearing things up. Those final 6 games went marvellous from the man.
I would say. I think if we had a Bournemouth fan amongst us right now, they would probably contest who had the better season between Ritchie and Townsend.
I mean, he scored that volley against Sunderland, didn't he?
It was
Lovely goal, that.
absolute howitzer.
But did he keep his play? Wait, you got to wonder why Mr. Howe sold him.
Well, didn't they brought in people like Gradle and stuff who missed most of the season?
Jordan Ibe as well.
Yeah, thought they could do better. They were wrong.
Is Ritchie better than Ibe?
Racism. That's why they've done it, because he plays for Scotland.
I didn't say that.
Do you think the defence will stay the same for the next game against Bristol City? Would you make any change at the back? That's from #GaleForce.
Get Clark out.
Get Clark out. #Get Clark out.
Yeah.
David Hollingsworth, and he concedes this probably isn't a question, more of a statement, but how much of a steal could Isaac Hayden prove to be? Would he pay for like 800,000 or something?
I haven't got a clue. It wasn't that much though, So 5-year deals, a 5 or 6 year deal normally what you give for them. He said, if he plays like he did last night, an incredible steal. If we go up and win the Premier League, that might be a separate issue because he's still a bit doesn't get around the pitch as quick as some others might in the Premier League, should we say?
Do you think he's not very quick? I thought he looked quite gazelle-like in his runs, long sweeping strides.
Far be it for me to criticise a man for his athleticism, but yes, I think he's a bit lumbering. He's a big lad, isn't he? Hunking around a big frame like that can't be very quick.
He does a good job though.
He was good.
He does a better job of hunting around the frame than me and you do.
Fair enough.
Thank you very much for joining us as ever. I don't know. I can't even do this at the end anymore. I used to work them out. Now I don't. You're going to leave this in. It makes it look like a dick again.
Thank you very much for joining us. I've been Ross from NUFC Fans. I've been joined by Adam. Thank you, Adam.
Hi. Thanks, Ross.
No problem. Please remember to like, share and subscribe. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye. God bless.